Welcome everyone, I'm Jennifer. So we're going to be going through some yoga for nervous system health and just overall feeling good in the body, helping things integrate and start to work together. And I want to start out just by relaxing into the body. We're going to do a little somatic movement. So find some space on the ground where you can kind of spread out. We're going to come down onto our back. We'll lift your knees up into your chest and just roll over to one side. Roll all the way over. Let your weight come to the side. And I'm just going to slowly start to let my top shoulder start to move back. Let my arms be heavy. And just really start to feel in the muscles of my back releasing to allow my body onto the floor. If you're feeling tight, help yourself a little bit. Start to move the arm. Maybe start to twist open. Let the arm kind of trace across the chest and onto the ground. And the knees start to rise and roll over. Notice the heaviness in the hips. Relax the buttocks and the feet. And just slowly, like honey, easing over to the other side, into the fetal position on the opposite side. Take an inhale here, maybe exhale with an ah or a ha. So we'll do 2 more of those here. Good. Now roll slowly over to the other side. We're just forming that connection with our body that it doesn't need to rush, so we can become curious about our movement, what it feels like, what feels good. If we find some sticky or tight spots, can we grow an extra set of lungs into that space and take a breath, watch it expand, and exhale, contract. You start to crawl those fingers over. Back in the fetal position here. We're going to take 3 ahs or ha's again. Inhale through the nose, down through the toes. 2 more. Inhale fully. Let the sound carry out tension from the inner body. Inhale. And just start to roll back and forth. Maybe a little bit faster now, but not so fast that you don't pay attention to the weight of your body rolling across the ground. We're just going to do this a few times here, so get comfortable in this motion. Maybe even noticing the fluids in your body kind of sloshing back and forth at a really slow pace. Pouring onto the floor as you move to the side. Spreading and spilling out, pouring over to the other side. Now we're going to start to expand this movement. As we come onto our back, we'll come into star pose, where we extend through the arms, the fingers, the legs, and the toes. Inhale, even pulling the breath through the fingers and the toes into the center of the body. Spreading and expanding like a star. And exhale, curl in over to one side. And my movement there was a little blocky, but I'm going to make it a little more smooth. And inhale, and opening to star. Exhale, trace the arm above the head, back into fetal. Just moving here, inhaling as we expand. And exhaling as we contract. Move the breath all the way up and out of the body. Move your belly to your spine, pushing the organs in and up into the ribs. Inhale, open. Spread the belly downward into the hips. Widen through the chest. Exhale, contract. Squeeze the breath up and out of the body. Inhale, open, spread, all the way down through the toes, fingers. Exhale the side. A few more times here, moving at your own pace, at your own breath. Inhaling, open. Exhale, close. Inhale, spread the light of the breath down the corridors of the arms and the legs. Exhale, move that light out of the body into the room. Inhale, expand and brighten. Exhale, send it out. Little inhale and come back onto our back here. And if you can spread the leg, stretch the legs forward, it's gonna rock through the heels. Just kind of softly shaking the body. Let the muscles and the bones be heavy in the skin. Skin kind of stuck to the floor and the muscles massaging themselves against the bone and tissue of the skin. Take some horse breaths here. Helps to soften the nervous system if it's in a jumpy state. Just kind of brings that vibration back to a pulse. One more. Let that movement soften. Just lay here for a moment, sense the vibrations in your body. Maybe feel the pores of the skin start to soften and open, diffusing and releasing any inner pressure of the system. Let it wash through the surface of the body. Inhale, let your chest rise up towards your collarbone, spread between the shoulders. Lengthen the tailbone down towards the toes, and exhale, move the breath up and out of the body, lifting the organs up and towards the ribs, the navel center. Inhale, spread and expand. Exhale, softly contract. And then we're going to place the feet on the ground, bending the knees. Let's just windshield wiper the knees here. Helps move some tension out of the hips. I love using the weight of my body to massage the back and the spine. So this gets across the lower part of the sacrum, a little bit into the glutes and somewhat of the sits bones. Now if we draw the knees in towards the chest, we can get more into that sacral area, lower back, and rocking the knees side to side. Nice. And I forgot to mention, can everyone go and grab like a towel? If you don't have a towel, like a t-shirt. I'm gonna go grab one. I'm gonna give you all a minute to do that if that's all right. If you don't have it, it's okay. You can use your hands. I just find it's a little bit more helpful. So come right back. All right. Let me give you all a minute here. If you've already got your prop, go ahead and lay back down on the ground. So coming down on the ground, if you have your towels, maybe fold it a couple times. You can also use a blanket. And we're just going to lay it over the shins, and I'm just going to use it so I'm not having to grip with my arms and kind of let my shoulders curl up into that contracted position. I can let my upper back really relax on the floor. With here, I'm going to grab this upper part where there's tension just around the knee. So I have kind of the strappy part here at the knee. I'm just going to wiggle my knee side to side. I want you to breathe down. If you were here last week, we talked about the pelvic floor breath. And breathing into that balloon between the hip bones, blowing up a balloon between the hip bones, softening the buttocks, softening the feet and the inner thighs. Blowing up that balloon between the hips, and as you exhale, softly deflating that balloon with the floor of your pelvic muscles. Contracting the belly, maybe knitting the ribs in, just to move the breath all the way up and out. Inhale, release. Exhale, lift and gather like you're zipping a wetsuit up the body. Inhale, lengthening the inner lining of the body. And then exhale it, moving upward like an elevator, up towards the ribs, bringing the organs and the breath along with it. And then we're going to practice with that here. We're going to inhale as the knees are close to the chest. Exhale, contract and move things away. Inhale, blow up that bubble, that balloon, and let the legs have that ball of breath kind of lift the legs up towards the chest, spreading into the base of the body. And then exhale, lift and gather, create structure, let the legs fall forward. You can hold them with the arms. Inhale, just moving the legs forward. Don't use too much of the leg muscle here. And exhale, legs move away as the breath moves up. Inhale, blowing up that balloon. Lengthen through the belly, spread through the chest. Exhale. Just moving back and forth here. Exhale, knees forward. Inhale, towards the spine. If you're not using a towel, maybe having the fingers pointing down towards the toes, cupping the knees here. Inhale, forward. Inhale, knees come forward. Exhale, knees are away. Nice. A couple more times here. And exhale. Let the feet come down towards the floor. I'm going to straighten one leg and bring one knee in towards the belly. Again, with the towel, or you can hold it with the hands here. We're just going to wiggle the shin back and forth. Just relaxing into the hip. Let the toes be soft. Maybe wiggle the toes. Make sure you're not holding tension in the toes. Notice if you're gripping in the jaw or the shoulders, and let that go. Smooth the forehead. Nice. Now we're just going to start to draw circles. And let the breath be whatever you like it to be. You can inhale as it comes forward, exhale out. Just try to match the pace of your breath with your movement. So pulling in the breath at the speed the leg is moving, moving the breath out at the same speed. Just try to slow that speed down. Soften the toes, wiggle the toes, notice when you grip. Just redirect your attention into softness. Let's reverse that circle, circling the knee the other way. Feeling the femur bone massaging the muscles of the hip joint. Nice. Squeeze that in towards the chest. And then we're going to pull the knee over the body into a cat stretch here. You can just let the towel rest on the leg as a soft weight for the knee. You could bend the leg underneath and place that ankle on the leg here. We're going to stretch the opposite arm out to the side. If you need to, you can lift the upper torso and shift it over to the opposite, towards the knees, just to give a little more space for the spine to extend. Maybe just rock the hips side to side here. Maybe let the head follow. Taking the breath all the way down to the tailbone, lighting up the spine as it traces down the body. Exhale, ushering the breath up and out the muscles of the inner body. Nice. And we're going to do a couple of cat-cows here. I don't think we go over cat-cows, but it's pretty much just a pelvic tilt. So I'm going to arch my back and tilt my tailbone behind me. As in, this is an inhale. I'm going to stretch through the spine, arching, And exhale, tuck the tailbone as if I were to curl into a ball, but leave the upper body here laying on the floor. Let your shoulder be heavy. Inhale, arching back. Exhale, tucking the pelvis forward. And just a couple of pelvic tilts here. Might hear some cracking, popping. Just starting to loosen up that lumbar spine around the sacrum. Get the lower nerve branches freed and communicating. And let that move soften, let them get smaller and smaller until you come into stillness. And just take a moment here. Breathe into the shape of the body. Exhale, surrender into the floor. The weight of the body, surrender to gravity. Feel the earth rise up to hold and cradle you. Nice. I'm going to roll back onto our backs and we'll go into the other hip. So bringing both knees in towards the chest and we'll straighten the left leg or the opposite leg out. Bring our towel around the knee that's bending into the chest. Again, having that kind of tension at the knee, that little strap from me holding it here. And just wiggling the shin. Let the toes relax. Ooh, relax the chest. And let the breath unzip the spine. Let your back spill heavy into the ground. Cool. Now we're going to create our circles. Inhaling as the knee comes in. Exhaling out. Or inhaling out and exhaling in. Whatever feels more comfortable for you, working with the breath. We want to move the breath all the way down the spine, whichever way we're doing it. And matching the pace of our breath with the movement. You feel a lot of tension, anxiety rising up through the body or heaviness. You use this breath where we inhale through the nose and blow it out of the mouth like you're blowing through a straw. Inhale through the nose, blow out through pursed lips. Let the pressure in the chest deflate and dissipate. Soften into the muscles of the ribs. Let the breath move through the spaces of the ribs. Let's reverse the circle. We store a lot of emotions in our hips at the base of the body. We're just going to throw everything in the basement, right? Things start to pile up and we really don't start to do anything about it till it hits the more mobile areas of the body and areas we tend to use with more articulation, so it starts to affect them in more obvious ways. So you notice when you start to release some of this tension and heaviness in the hips, that you might feel lighter through the chest, head, releasing tension in the arms and the upper back and shoulders. The area at the base of the spine and the top of the spine are very much connected. Our communication points, our landmarks. So we're gonna maybe sway this knee side to side and eventually let it come over into our cat stretch to the opposite side. Just lay that towel over the leg for comfort, slight weight. And you can lift the upper torso by pushing into the elbows and the back of the head. Give a little more extension to the spine and extend that opposite arm out to the side. You can have it straight out to the side or goalpost arms. If neither of those are comfortable, and I should have said this on the other side, you can place it down along the body or wherever feels nice. And you can bend that bottom knee and place the ankle on top. That works. If you have a pillow or something, you can also place it under the knee. You can also just have both knees bent. Leg laying on top. separation with myself. Maybe a little rock side to side with the hips, just tipping that leg forward, letting it fall back. Maybe notice it's massaging that outer line of the thigh, and the hip joint. Right. Here we're going to move into our pelvic tilt, so arching the back, tilting the tailbone back behind you. And exhale, tucking the tailbone in, curling the lower body towards the knees. Inhale, tailbone releases back, you arch. You start using some popping, grinding, grittiness. Exhale, tucking the tailbone. Breath moves up and out of the body. Inhale, extend all the way through the inner lining, through the tailbone. Let the breath be a light that shines out of the base of the body. Exhale, grab that light, move it up and out with the breath through the nose or the mouth. Inhale, arching. Exhale, tucking. Just a couple more times here, then let that movement get smaller and smaller. Each repetition becomes stillness. And just surrender into the pose, fall into the ground, let yourself spread through the breath. Exhale, pull in the energies of the earth through the body, through the nervous system, lighting up the spine and the skull. Inhale, spread into the foundation of the earth as it rises to support you. Alright. Back onto the back, knees towards the chest. And placing the blanket over the knees, maybe wiggling them side to side, maybe rocking side to side. Let's move forward and back here. Maybe starting to roll up to a seat, coming back down to the floor. Just rolling back and forth, massaging the spine. Move as slow as you need to. If you can't come all the way up, that's all right. And if you can, rock up to a seat or roll over to the side and push yourself up to a seated position here. Alright, everybody doing okay? Alright, so we're going to move into feeling this pelvic floor breath a little bit more, and then we're going to do some movement with it to reinstate it into the body. So take the towel or the textile, whatever you had, and we're going to roll it up to create a roll. We're going to roll it into a roll. So this roll, you want it to be about the size of the fist. We're going to be placing it under the body. We're just kind of taking the floor between the sits bones. Our pelvic floor kind of has this arc to it, so it doesn't lay flush on the ground. So we're just using this to lift the surface of the floor up to our pelvic floor. So you don't want it too tight and too compressed to where you can't feel. It's just the sensation's too loud. So you may want to unroll it a bit. Just kind of play with that. See what feels nice and comfortable. You feel like you can feel it touching the base of the body, but it's not intruding or compressing in too hard. So a little bit more. Okay. Then you can adjust it as we go. If you're not feeling it, roll it up a little bit more. And also, the tighter you roll it, the more dense it's going to be. If it's a loose roll, it may be a little too soft to feel. So we're going to practice into that pelvic floor breath. So I'm going to place one hand on my chest, one on my belly here. And as I inhale, I want to feel my chest spread beneath my hands. And I want to feel the low belly spread. And I don't want it to come forward. I actually want it to move out and up. So think about like old TVs, how they're kind of bulb. The screen was kind of bulbous. Now we have like big flat screen TVs. So like grow your flat screen. Like flatten your bulbous screen into one of the new tech, right? So So as we inhale, we're going to spread through the chest. It's actually lengthen through the belly and spread through the hips. Think about blowing up that balloon into the hips. Let the base open and receive the breath. See if you can feel that roll beneath you as you spread the pelvic floor into the roll. And as you exhale, using the muscles to deflate that balloon, lift and gather the breath. See if you can use, almost as if the pelvic floor were a palm and you were creating a fist with the pelvic floor to grasp and pick up that roll. And then inhale, spreading the fingers of the pelvic floor, spreading the palm of the pelvic floor. And then exhale, lift and gather, try to pick that roll up. So this kind of helps us feel where those muscles are, how they function in the body, how we can move them. Exhale up. And if you're not feeling this right away, you have tightness in the pelvic floor, it can take some time to start to chip away at that. This is something you can always pull out and try just to start to feel into it again. Using that proprioception of the roll to lift the floor up so we can breathe into it. Inhale, spreading that palm, blowing up that balloon between the hips, hip bones spreading apart. Exhale, lift and gather, zip through that wetsuit, knitting through the ribs, moving the breath up and out. Inhale, flooding the hips, spreading into the floor, spreading the palm of that pelvic floor. Exhale, lift and gather, zip up through the body. Inhale, lengthen through the belly. So thinking about that flower rooting down, moving up through the stalk and blossoming up through the collarbone. Exhale, gathering the nutrients, closing down for nighttime into center. Inhale, lengthening and spreading. Exhale, lift and gather. So hopefully this is kind of helping you feel into those muscles a little bit. We're going to help the body integrate that into movement. So let's remove the roll. Leave that to the side. We're going to use it for our cool down as well. And we'll come to standing. So this one is called Goddess Squat. This is something we do often in yoga classes. So we're gonna have our legs spread out. Legs spread out, our feet are gonna be a diagonal point. So not parallel straight ahead, kind of out to the corners. And not too wide, or this is going to be too much of a vulnerable position. We don't want to strain the inner thigh, especially if we have tightness in the pelvic floor. Let me just say a sensible distance, a reserved distance. And we're going to inhale as we move down. So as my legs open, I'm creating that space for the pelvic floor to spread and expand. Think about the hammock kind of holding the organs, creating that support. And then exhale, lift and zip up through the body, deflating that balloon, using my breath to rise and create that structure, the A-frame of the body. And inhale, flooding the hips, letting the breath move down through the base, through the roots, into the ground, even through the toes, wiggle the toes. Exhale, lift up and zip. I like moving the hands in the same direction, just so everything's moving the same direction. My brain doesn't get confused. My body doesn't get confused. Inhale and open. Exhale, lift and gather. Inhale, blowing up that balloon in the hips. Exhale, lift and gather. Create that fist and push it there, up and out. Inhale and open. I also do ballet, and it just makes sense to, when we're doing jumps, so we do a lot of plies for our jumps, to take off, but also to land so we don't break our knees. But inhaling, filling up with breath, and using that to move me off of the ground makes a lot more sense than dropping my breath out and then trying to sniff myself up into the air. So we're just using the physics to help our body go into the natural flow. This helps keep our nervous system balanced. When we're moving against the flow, then we're always kind of moving against equilibrium, so we're always having to reset. So retraining the body will help support the nervous system. Inhale, open, flooding the hips. Exhale, lift and gather. So it takes a while to retrain the body into pelvic floor breathing, but this is a good one to do morning and night before exercises, just to reset the body. What does it feel like, or what should it feel like in my body to do that pelvic floor breathing? So I think the diaphragm moves down, but the pelvic floor moves down. And exhale, everything moves up and pushes the air out of the body. Inhale, opens those reservoirs for the breath to flood into the body. Exhale, moving it up and out. So I would find myself wanting to retrain my body. Go ahead and keep doing the movement if you like. You can take a break if you like. I would find myself maybe at the grocery store, those moments when I had time to think, and I had to be still, and I would think about retraining my breath. And so I would think about goddess squat, and I didn't want to do this in the grocery store line, so I just think, okay, as I bend my knees and I go down, I inhale, fill up, my legs are moving apart, I'm creating space for the breath. Exhale, lift and gather, it moves and lifts me up off the ground. Inhale and open, exhale, lift. So if you want to start to retrain the body, this is an easy one to remember, and nobody will really know what you're doing. So just a little tip on that one. Let's see. I'm going to show y'all, we're going to move from, so now our feet are facing diagonal. Let's go ahead and point them forward into parallel. And then, say my front leg, pick a leg, and that heel's going to turn perpendicular to this foot. So it's kind of a heel to inner arch alignment. It can also be heel to heel. Whatever everybody's structure is a little bit different in our hips. So whatever feels comfortable for you. And we're going to bend into this front knee. And here's our warrior two. And so we're going to inhale here. Exhale. And my hands are coming together above my head here. Inhale and open. Exhale. Using my foot is pushing me back into my shape here. Inhale and open. Exhale and close. And breathe into that pelvic floor. You may feel it really open on this side where the leg is bending. And then exhale. You can really tune into each side and feel it moving. Inhale and open. Exhale, zip up into structure. All the way up, knitting the ribs. Really engaging that core. Inhale and open. Exhale, brightening that thoracic spine to engage and lift the breath up through the chest. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. And then we'll move to the other side. So toes come forward. And we'll move the other toes to the side. Bend into that knee as we inhale. Drawing that line of the breath through the body. Exhale, lift up. Inhale and open. Exhale, structure. And as I open here and I inhale, I'm using that buoyancy of the breath to support me here. So I get more fluid movement. And I'm not working against the pelvic floor, causing tension. Inhale. I'm helping to tone it and integrate it into the system. And exhale. One more time, inhale. And exhale. I'm going to take an exalted warrior two on each side. So come into your warrior two. I'm just going to reach my hands forward. Feel that stretch in the hip here. And I'm just going to scoop the breath up and back. I'm going to let that elbow bend. Just feel that stretch on the front side of the body. Kind of shake the knee back and forth. Let the neck relax. And just find comfort in the shape. You might want to micro bend that back knee. Wiggle the toes. And push our legs in straight, open the arms out. Switch sides again, just do that on the other side here. Inhale into our warrior two. Reaching forward as we exhale. Inhale, lift up and back. Exhale, soften in the pose. As if you're sitting in your most comfortable chair, like this pose is my comfy spot. Wiggle into it. Find lightness where there's heaviness or tightness. Take that extra pair of lungs into the space. And start to straighten through the legs. Open the arms and come forward. And let's just come into a wide forward fold. Just let your elbows bend. Let the knees bend heavy. You can have the feet parallel into a second position or a pigeon toe. Just noticing where you're tight in the leg. Maybe trying each out and seeing what feels good. Bending into the knees. Find what you like. Hang here for a moment. Let the hips be heavy. but then be like a counterbalance to the front body. And we're going to push into the hands. The hands are under the shoulders and the halfway lift here. And exhale with this flat back here. And then maybe bringing the weight towards the toes, using the hands to support us. And rocking our weight back to the heels, stretching through the arms. And back onto the toes. And back to the heels. Alright, we're going to come into hands and knees on the floor. I'm going to do a couple cat-cows here. So cat-cows is kind of what we're doing in our twist. In our cat-cows, I'm going to see these before, just arching the back, my tailbone lifts up towards the ceiling. I have a micro bend in my elbows because I'm really pulling my chest through my body. When I go into cat-cows, I almost feel like my shoulders are circling around like a Ferris wheel, coming into cat and cow, cow and cat, or you go the other way, cat and cow. So maybe thinking about something like that. It's inhaling, pulling the chest through as we tilt the tailbone back. You can tuck the toes on the cow here, stretching through the bottoms of the feet. Then exhale, push into the tops of the feet, start to curl the back into contraction, this kind of C pose, like a scared cat. That tailbone's tucking inward towards the nose and moving the breath out of the body. Inhale, releasing that pelvic floor, tailbone untucks and releases the spine, the head rolls forward. Exhale, tucking that tailbone, initiates that contraction like a frog folding in through the body. Inhale and open, lengthen the tail back. Can you imagine you have an animal tail, maybe wagging it? Wag the hip side to side, maybe looking over at the hip as it moves towards the side. And then the other side. Just going back and forth here in our cow pose, we're arching the back. And we'll push into our cat pose and wiggle the hips side to side here. Let the head be heavy, like a dewdrop falling off a blade of glass. And a couple more cat-cows at your own pace. Inhaling cow, belly lengthens, chest comes forward like you're beaming a spotlight through the chest. Exhale, lift and gather the energy, move it up and out of the body. Inhale, release. And exhale, contract. We'll move back in child's pose here, so just bringing the hips back towards the heels. If you can't bring it all the way back, you can always roll this blanket, fold it under, place it there for your hips to land on, or a pillow. And spread the arms straight, let the elbows be straight, come up onto your fingertips and start to rock the body. Just softly initiating movement and let the heaviness of the body take over. Form its own pace. And let that slow down. Let your head come down, your arms drape onto the ground. Breathe into the center of the back as if you had a turtle shell. And you're breathing into the center of the shell, the breath spreading, radiating out to the edges, dripping off the edge of the shell. Exhale, surrender to the ground. Inhale into the center of that shell. Watch it grow and expand with the breath. Exhale, release. One more inhale, fill up that shell. You're rising inside of it. Stretch it through the shoulder blades. Exhale, let it go. Just take a moment to be heavy. Feel the echoes of your breath moving out through the surface of the skin. The waves of your awareness just washing through the brain. Let's come back up to hands and knees. I'm going to tuck my toes under here. I start to move my hips back towards my feet. I'm just gonna rock my heels side to side, stretching through the webbing of the feet, balls of the feet, and toes. If you need more compression, you can walk your hands up, putting the weight of your body over the heels. If you need even more than that, come up above the heels, balancing on the feet. It's called fire toes, they may feel fire. And let's come back, we'll tap the feet here. And our feet are really very much connected to our pelvic floor and the tone. Our pelvic floor sets the tone for the rest of our body, and our feet really inform, how we walk, and our posture really puts that pressure on our feet in different areas that translates up into our pelvic floor. So it's nice to soften into the feet. Right here. So we're going to go back into those fire toes, but instead of my toes being parallel here, I'm going to bring my pinky toes towards each other and my heels apart. I'm going to get that outside line of my foot here. I'm rocking side to side. Stretching through the balls of the feet, pressing into the floor. Taking the breath all the way down to the feet, spreading through the sensation with the breath. Exhale, let it move into the ground. Lift up, we're going to bring the heels together and the toes apart, getting the inner line of the foot. Slight wiggle, I can't wiggle as much here. Maybe with the hips can assist in this. And then one more time, the center line, noticing the difference when you first started. And then shake it out and tap. Let's do a quick, I like this, no, we'll do that, okay. Let's do this instead. So, we're on the feet. Again, if you have trouble sitting on your heels, we can place something like this at the back of the legs, just roll it up, create a cushion. If that's still too much, what we're gonna do here is just put compression on the feet. I'm using my knuckles as like pressure points. Like knuckle puncture, knuckle acupressure, and just moving around on the foot, noticing where it's tight. Let me sit into a sensation for a moment. And when you find that sensation, that tension, take your breath into it. Notice if you're gripping at the base of the pelvis. Notice if you're gripping in your jaw, your shoulders, let it go. So when we start to move tension out of different areas of the body, and once it gets trapped, and our old patterns. So just starting to become aware and releasing those patterns by releasing the tension. Moving into the balls of the feet. Just using compression. Here I'm just using the flats of my fingers. I like tenderizing meat, right? Just tenderizing my toes. And then we use the knuckles just to comb through the bottoms of the feet. Relax the shoulders, relax the fibers of the neck, then drape into the chest. Soften the earlobes and the eyebrows. Nice. All right. That's that. And we're going to take this roll. So this one I want to be a little bit thicker, but find what works for you. You can roll it into any size. I'm going to use it to massage the neck and shoulders. We'll come back down onto the ground here. I'm going to place it right at the top of my shoulder blades. Kind of, right at the top of my shoulder blades here. At the base of the neck. I've got my legs bent, feet on the floor. So I'm going to lift myself up into a bridge pose and bring the arms behind me. And just rock side to side. I'm kind of using the towel to traction my shoulders down my back. Just wiggling, finding some good traction here, maybe lifting the head, stretching the neck, placing it back down, and then lowering the hips. Woo! Let the body be heavy. Just let the towel compress into the shoulders. If it's too much, adjust your position, maybe make the towel a little bit smaller. I'm going to rock my knees side to side softly. I'm not going to move my weight into the joints of the shoulders, but I can move it to the edges. You may hear some popping, grinding again. If you're feeling that, just take an extra pair of lungs into that space. Blow them up on the inhale. Contract them on the exhale. And make sure we're not trapping tension in the toes. I'm going to place my hands behind my head. I'm just going to start to walk my shoulders over the roll. Moving maybe an inch or two. Dropping my weight down, I'm just going to raise one elbow above and just kind of let my skin get stuck to the roll. I'm just kind of moving my body weight side to side. It's kind of not pinching my skin underneath me, but massaging into the muscle here. Good. Then relax it down. Notice if you're holding tension in your buttocks or the soles of the feet. Soften the thighs and the elbows. Nice. Lift the head up again. We're going to walk the shoulders back another inch or two. Relax down here. Releasing the sound helps move tension from the inner body. Really diffuses a lot of pressure. We're told a lot in our lives to be quiet, or sometimes for good reasons, sometimes for control. and our body gets trained to it, so we need to let it know it's okay to use that valve to decompress in safe spaces. And then here, if the roll, I want to get it to where it's just underneath the armpits. So if you need to move up or down a little bit, I'm going to start to roll side to side. And moving over to one side, using that idea, that somatic roll, where you just kind of move slowly, organically, and heavy into the floor. Start to get into some lymph nodes here. So if it's tender, ease off, go to the edge of discomfort and work from the periphery. Take a breath into that space. See if you can soften a little deeper on the exhale. If you notice any areas of tension, maybe bringing your attention and care there, rolling a little side to side. Taking that breath to create space. Over to the other side. Just using this compression, sometimes areas of our body get so tense, they don't know what it feels like to let go, and if they kind of stay in one state, it may take increasing that contraction and letting it go back to its newfound baseline in order to realize, oh, this is the direction I can go to let go. It's used to only go in one direction, so we can increase that so it has to let go and find its way back. But we don't want anything painful, and we don't want to move in any movement that makes us grip or contract. If you notice that happening, back off. Back off, create that space of safety with the breath, so you can maybe move into it again, or just leave it alone and work where you're at. Then we're moving side to side, and you slowly start to inch up if you want to get a little bit lower into the spine. Along the side of the ribs, intercostal muscles. Move it over towards the chest. Or even noticing any areas you may want to go back to after class and take some rolling massage into that area. Always use this on the front body. It's nice along the belly too if you get a large roll, massaging the gut. Our gut's connected to that vagus nerve. And our pelvic floor breathing is really important for our polyvagal health, because our vagus nerve moves down from the cranium and wraps around the stomach. So we're belly breathing and moving the stomach forward and back and forward and back. It's not getting in contraction to cleanse out that nerve. And it's also not lengthening and stretching it on the inhale. So we want to lengthen the belly down into the hips on the inhale. Exhale, contract everything up and massage. Inhale, lengthening. Notice if you're gripping in your toes. I noticed I was. Maybe you are. Gripping in your fingers or your shoulders. Let it all loose. Let it be slack. Then we start to move into that lower back arch. If you want to get some compression in there, you can move the knees in towards the chest. Rock the knees side to side. Ooh, into the waist here. Then let the feet come back down, and we'll lift my hips up and just move that roll down towards the sacrum. We just give a wiggle in that low back. Some circles. Just massaging around the sacrum for a moment. And moving it down towards the tailbone again. Rocking the knees side to side, getting into the glutes here. Oh, yeah. Notice if you're gripping, scan the body from the top of the head, through the face, ears, neck, shoulders, chest, belly, arms, fingers, hips, buttocks, legs, and feet. I like to think of like a Xerox, that green line going down my body, or the grocery store checkout and checking myself out. So just doing a body scan, everything's okay. Everything relaxed. So I bring my attention through. Alright, you can straighten the legs here, maybe a little wiggle into the tail and the glutes. Whatever works, you know? Come back to seated. And again, we're just gonna glide the sits bones over the roll. If you find a tight spot, I just found one here, you can kind of sit on it. Take that breath. Again, scanning the body, finding that tense spot, but then making sure the rest of the body is allowing that tension to move out and not get trapped. So spreading our awareness, not letting that tension or discomfort really blind our mind. Learning to spread our awareness out of the noise of sensation. Let the breath harness, control that for you. And we're just gonna move back and forth on the sits bones, just massaging that connection there. Sweet. Wiggles, whatever feels good. All right, I'm gonna put that to the side. Maybe do a couple more on your own before you go to bed, whatever is calling to you. And we're gonna come into a seated position and seal our class here together. Let's bring our hands together in front of the heart. Rub the palms, create some warmth and friction in the hands. And just for a moment, place those warm palms over the eyes, covering the eye sockets, and take that warm breath in through the head. Let it shower down the body, flooding the floor, soaking into the earth. And bring the hands together at the chest. Let's take some inhales and exhales together. Inhale through the nose. Sigh out of the mouth. Inhale through the nose. Sigh it out. And this last breath, you can sigh or om with me. Inhale. Thank you for taking the time to practice and release tension from your body. Each time we release tension from our body, we're releasing a measure of tension from the entire world, making it a lighter and brighter space. Thank you for your practice. Namaste, Sat Nam.
Shanti.